Hello everybody and welcome to my Cinema 4D 14 mograph Skylight tutorial. This tutorial is a bit special because it does not demonstrate a new feature of Cinema 4D 14 or a plugin or so on, because it shows an illumination rig I made a few years ago. The asset named Skylight is still pretty powerful, I think. It's for free, the tutorial is for free as well, of course, and in case you would like it, simply download the library file and use it. Almost everybody is looking for a high quality, fast and easy to use illumination solution. Global illumination with HDRI maps is really a very nice option. I love it and I use it very often, but it takes a lot of time. My rig produces similar results in a fraction of the time. It's easy to use and really not complicated. But it has a limitation. It's based on Cinema 4D mograph module. It means that you must own Cinema 4D Studio or Broadcast. About the hero, this beautiful plane is a German fighter Fokker triplane in marking of Johannes Janssen and Ace of Fiesta 6. The model is a hero of my 12 hours long advanced modeling tutorial for Cinema 4D that I released 2 years ago. This example model has a high detail level. We can check the engine. All these parts are modeled the same for guns and so on. It means that we can expect longer rendering times, but the rendering speed will be not so bad. Simply, we can say the Skylight can reduce our rendering times very often and makes illumination very flexible and adaptable and fast. I will turn off the ambient occlusion effect and black star glare effect as well, and we can run the render. That's not so bad, I think. We can study how the mograph Skylight rig works, and I will show you all settings and values of the rig as well. Before the start, where can we download the mograph Skylight rig? You can download it here from the tutorial webpage on www.cmivfx.com, or you can use my own webpage www.c4d.cz. The rig is derived as a library file, so simply unzip the archive and drag and drop the file into the browser library file folder located near your main Cinema 4D folder. You will find the rig after the process here in Content Browser, Choice Presets and MG Skylight. Okay, let's start. Really, before we study the Skylight rig, it would be nice to understand how the rig works. Almost everybody can build a very similar rig like this and reproduce the system I made, but the approach I've used is a bit special because I used a bit different kind of sphere for the rig. The topology of the sphere controls light distribution of the rig. Okay, create a new project and create a new parametric sphere object. Adjust the radius of the sphere. The sphere is the main object of the rig. It's the main object of the lightning dome we will build, so set the radius according to the scene size and create a new mograph cloner object. Press the shift key and add here a new spotlight. It's placed a child of the cloner, and so the cloner itself, and go to the object tab and adjust the mode of the cloner object and use the object option here and use the sphere, drag and drop the sphere into the object link field. Okay, change the view and check the current state of the system. Check orientation of our lights. It's reversed, as you can see. So select the cloner again, go to the transform tab and set the rotation and p-axis to 180 degrees. Then lights are aligned well now. We can turn off visibility of the sphere because we don't need to see the sphere itself. We have used the sphere for light distribution only. Let's continue. Create a new disk object. It's a floor of the project. Scale it up and create a new cube object. Adjust the size and fill the object. Set the size to 100 in all directions and we can use the radius, press the Alt key, the cube is still selected, and add a new array object here and adjust the absolute position of the array. Use 15 here, done. And I will adjust the disk a bit more. Okay, and select the light object. The light is duplicated by the cloner. Go to the details tab of the light settings and set the inner angle value to higher value. The inner angle of the line must cover the main part of the project. Okay, and go to the general tab and activate the soft shadow. It's really enough because the area shadow effect is simulated by many light sources, and area shadow option is reset time. In this case, of course, reduce intensity of the light. I use 40 for example, and we can test the result. And it does not look bad, I think. Simply it works. Never forget, we used the mograph cloner for the rig, so we can combine the cloner object with many effectors, and one of them can reproduce color of the surface to our light dome. It's really very important. So select the cloner itself and create a new shader effector here. Select the effector and use the shading tab and load a custom shader here. We can use gradient, for example, change orientation of the gradient, use the V direction, select the shader effector again and go to the parameter tab and turn off, use alpha strength option here. That's really important. Our light dome will be colorized correctly now accordingly to the shader color we have used. It means gradient on our example. It works really well. We can test the result again. Okay, the pure white color was calculated. It means the system works. So we can try a different sample here. Let's use a texture, load the texture, and test the result again. It works really well, but the current state of the rig has one pretty important weakness. I will explain it. Turn off the cloner for the moment and show the sphere again, and change the display settings, show hidden lines, check topology of the sphere and take a look to this one area, for example. We can imagine it's an area where can be a main light source of your IGRI image, but the area has 4 polygons only. It means 9 light samples. Choose our place here. It's really very low count. So imagine the same on the pole of the sphere. It's an area that has much more polygons and points. It means 25 light samples will be placed here. So we need to use a different kind of the sphere. We need much more uniform distribution of our samples. Select the sphere object and change the type. Use the icosahedron type. It's much better. It produces a very uniform topology. It means samples distribution will be uniform as well. Okay, we can hide the sphere again and activate the cloner and go closer and test the result. Done. Set the light itself and adjust the intensity of the light. That's much better. We can select the shader effector and adjust the texture sample we have used. Use the photo effect here, open the shader and decrease the saturation value. Done. We got pretty nice result and we can turn off the specular option on the light. You now understand how the Skylight works, and it's very crucial for us. But that's not all. We can imagine that we don't need bottom samples. And other question is that there can be a wall that decreases illumination intensity. So just imagine here's a wall and it reduces illumination from the backside because it can reduce render time as well. Simply would be great to have an option how to cut off light samples here and the same from the bottom. All of these tasks are solved in the rig I made for you. It's enough for the moment. We can go back and study the rig. Let's study the Skylight rig. I will turn off the 4 back objects the first and hide the focal as well, and I will delete the sky and mograph Skylight object. The sky belongs to rig and it was removed from the hierarchy only, and we will build the Skylight again. We can delete it. Turn off the current camera and let's start. Okay, create a new disk object again, adjust the size and create a new cube, adjust it and duplicate it by the array like before, and adjust the epsilon position of the array. Then open the content browser and create a new Skylight object. We can study the object. The hierarchy of the object contains several other objects. The first group is not important. It simply says I made the rig and ran a rig tested the system. A light source named sun is the second. It's a standard CINEMA 4D light that supplies to the rig sphere directly, and you can adjust it as an other light, and the sunlight settings here up to you, and you can use your own sunlight as well. The sky object is the third. You can use your own sky object again, but the rig contains a default sky object. Using default sky is the fastest way to use this rig, and the last is the Skylight object itself. Set the Skylight and use the user data tab. It's the main tab of the rig and it contains everything that you will need. Okay, go closer into our scene and test the result. It will work still well already. The result is not so bad, just use the default settings. Okay, select the Skylight object and hide visibility of the sky object in our editor first, and check the option enable in renderer. It's an option that activates the rig. Turn off the option and test the result. Only the sunlight is here at the moment. Activate it again and test it. It's okay now. Visible in editor option shows all light samples in the editor. It means all lights of the rig. Turn off the visible in editor option and you will be able to activate the Skylight sphere option only. It shows the sphere that's used for the rig and it gives feedback of the rig size as well. And set the rig size accordingly to the size of your project, of course. The next step is named Sunlight. Its controls are chosen sunlight position accordingly to the sky. Create a new light here, change the type of the light, use area light again, and go to the details tab and adjust the size of the light, adjust the epsilon size only. We will use the light for demonstration only. And set the Skylight and drag and drop the light we just made to the sunlight field here. The light is placed in the rig sphere already, as you can see, and we can adjust azimuth, angle and elevation. Perfect. The light position is set accordingly to the rig sphere. So continue to the Skylight Global Settings tab and adjust the radius. And the sun position is adjusted accordingly to this value. Then use the sun object here again and delete the tester light object and set the rig again. We know that we can adjust the rig size by the radius here, so show our light samples again and adjust the icon subdivision value here. It changes subdivision of the sphere and it controls light sample scale, of course. More light samples means better quality and longer render times. You can check the the light samples count, simply select the Skylight and check the global info data tab. It shows all main parameters of the rig. It shows how many lights we have on the rig here. The next is intensity of our samples, and global brightness included cutting planes, but color intensity is not calculated because it's controlled by texture sample. Okay, we can use texture tag here as the tag that will be used for light samples colorization. Is here. I will apply a new material on the sky object. It will create a new texture tag here. Select the Skylight and drag and drop the new tag into the sky texture tag field. Check colors of our light samples. They will change according to the texture color. Use the gradient and it's changed again. And use the texture again. It works well. And here's the link for a sky that will control rotation and position of the rig. Especially the rotation of the used sky is really very important for the rig. So we can try it. Select the sky object and move the sky, rotate it, and the rig will be moved and rotated accordingly to the sky. And the last of the tab is a used channel choicer. You can use luminance or color channel of used material. Open the sky material and I've used the luminance channel here, and the Skylight use the same option here. Okay, we can imagine that we can need to adjust the sun position accordingly to the used environment texture. Okay, show the sky object again, and we can turn off the content of our project, and I will show the handle approach we can use. We can group our objects, and we can rotate the camera and set the position of the camera to the content position and set the sun from the camera, but it will take a lot of time, as you will see. It's somewhere here, and select the Skylight and use the sun tab and adjust the sun position. About the sun, never forget that a larger area light produces more diffuse shadows and illumination. Smaller area of the light produces sharper shadows, and it's faster for rendering as well. Okay, select the sun object, and we can reduce the radius value of the light. Then we can show the content again and test the result. And it works well. So we can continue. There is another way how to set the sun position, and it's much faster and more effective. The sun is connected with another object of the Skylight hierarchy. Open the Skylight hierarchy and open the Don't Touch Me as well, and select the Azure Eye Sun Position object and go to the camera menu of the view and use the Set Active Object as a camera option. Is here, and it's the best option for us. And select the rig again and adjust the sun position by the rig again. The current object is used as a camera and set accordingly to the settings, and the sun is adjusted as well. Okay, use the camera menu again and use the default camera. The sun is done. We can continue. The horizon plane is another nice settings we have. It's really a very powerful feature that turns off all light samples are under the effector plane. We can imagine that we don't need illumination from the bottom of the sky, so we can simply turn off these samples by the horizon settings. The horizon switcher activates the effect. It simply turns off the used effector that's placed here. It's here. We can adjust the vertical position. I will hide the sky for the editor again. So the horizontal level controls its vertical position, and the fall off controls the intensity fall off of the effector. In case the sample gets zero intensity, it's turned off and computing will be faster. And here's the fall off. Perfect. We can test the result again. That's nice. We can turn off the disk object and check the illumination from below. Create a new sphere and adjust its size. And select the Skylight and test the horizon settings. Turn off the horizon here and check the result and adjust the horizon level value. Perfect. We can use something like this, and as we said before, we can imagine there is another restriction from side. So here is another settings that can solve the task. I will activate the disk again and move the sphere up a bit. Select the disk object and add a new composition tag to the object. And turn off the cast shadows option here. It means object will not cast shadows to other objects of the scene, especially from the bottom part of the rig, for example. We can simulate the GI effect, by the way, or we can use ambient occlusion effect into the object or scene. Done. Select the Skylight and we can activate the side cutting option as well. Is here. It's another nice feature of the rig, because it turns off light samples accordingly to the side cutting settings. As we said before, we can imagine here is a wall and we don't need an extra illumination from the wall direction. It means we can turn off illumination that's behind the wall. The rig offers a similar solution to a horizontal cut. It's the side cut, as you can probably expect. Adjust the position of the plane accordingly to the wall position. We can set the main angle and cutting offset, elevation and so on. We can select the cube and add a composition to the cube again. And turn off cast shadows option here. Done. Perfect. The illumination that goes from the wall side is reduced a bit. Yeah, it is. Correct. As we said already, the scene can use an ambient occlusion effect and so on, and the result will be perfect. Select the Skylight rig and we can try all settings of the side cutting plane, main angle, elevation and so on. Okay, done. The next step controls light type of our samples. We can use spotlight and omnilight here. We can set the main brightness value here, but the value does not use real life values, and we can always check system values here on the global info data tab. Never forget, the light sample value does not calculate the color itself. Global info data tab shows total lights count, sample brightness and global brightness with effectors. As I said, it's an info panel only. You cannot change these values. Light sample settings tab contains advanced light sample settings, specular option, contrast settings and shadows chooser. The soft shadows option is usually absolutely enough. Spotlight settings contains inner angle values and settings. shadow tab controls the shadow settings. It means density, color and transparency option, and here is the resolution of the shadow map. In case you will use the standard rendering engine, you can set the area shadow settings here. Okay, that's all. I will use the same setting as before. I will apply the material again and select the Skylight itself, and I will link the texture tag. I will set the channel, and I will delete these objects, and I will show the floor, back, environment object, and the focal as well. And I will activate the camera, and I will test the result. It's too dark. It looks I forgot the side cutting option here. I will adjust the texture tag as well. It isn't on the sky object, but it does not have an impact in this case because the sky is not rotated. And I must select the Skylight and turn off the side cutting here, and render the scene again. Okay, here is the result of the current state. We can set a higher subdivision of the sphere. The reason is pretty simple. More samples produce better results, because more light samples means more color samples, and is the reason that the renders result with high dynamic range. So adjust the ICO subdivision value a bit here, and we can test the result, and it will be enough, I think. It does not look bad, I think. The rig is explained and the lighting is done as well. So the mograph can be used on many different tasks. It was used for a powerful lighting rig, and it can make our renders and animations really very fast. So we are on the end of the tutorial. In case you like the rig, just download it and visit my own homepage www.c4d.cz. Thank you for watching.